Hi, I'm Riton, and welcome to my studio in North London. This is basically, I'm going to have a little play around and show you what I did to create the last track I just put out on my record label Riton Time. It's called Fake ID, and it's with my friend Kah-Lo, who does all my vocals, and we've just finished an album together.
369 girls wanna drink wine. Tell the man not to waste your time. If the man broke, the man he a joke. So you gotta get loose with the Henny and the Coke. 3, 2, 1, girls wanna have fun. If the man don't dance, he's done. Tell him move on, get the man gone. Now can I get a Coke with my rum?
Hey, I'm Riton. Welcome to my studio. This is gonna break down a track I did called Fake ID with my longtime collaborator Kah-Lo, vocalist. So this is our sort of like acid track, sort of a bit like wanted to do something a little bit like Rinse and Repeat that we put out last year, and this is going to go on our mixtape album thing, which is coming out in a couple of months. So basically, yeah, it's like a vocal-led sort of acid house track, I guess. Yeah, and I'll show you how I did it. The first and most sort of important element, aside from the vocals, which I'll get into in a bit, is I guess the sort of synth parts, and there's only really two in this, which is something I always try and do, is like try and keep it as simple as possible. So basically I have the raw sort of audio. I think, let me find it one sec. So this is like the sort of like low bass line, which is actually audio now. I'll show you how I made that in a second. So there's that part, and then following on from that, there's a more like heavier sort of acid sound, which is this one. I think that's some effect part of it. And that's some more. So basically, actually, what I have here is like 3 or 4. I have the sort of dry one, and then I have about 3 or 4 channels of bounced audio of like effects, which are like stereo effects and like reverby type things, which I'll show you how I did as well. So I guess I'll show you how I did the first part, which is this sort of basic acid line. They both come from this,
369 girls wanna drink wine. Tell the man not to waste your time. If the man broke, the man he a joke. So you
yeah, they basically both come from this machine, which is sort of an old Pearl like drum synth. It's called a Syncussion, and you can actually have 2 simultaneous like sounds played from it. It's like definitely not supposed to, it wasn't designed to make like melodic stuff with. It's more just like toms and stuff like that. But it's really effective for these sort of acid sounds, you know. So basically, what I do is, this isn't the real thing because I'll never be able to get that back, because I just do it like in the, you know, with the machines live, and once it's in, I can't back it up in any way. So I'll basically start off with my MPC, because I like to actually try and create everything I have on the MPC before I start tracking it, and I have universal audio thing, and then I have this extra Behringer thing, so I can actually track about like I think it's like 16 channels of audio at the same time, which is really nice. And if I get that all down from the MPC timing, it's sort of, it's not perfect, like it has a little groove to it, and I think I really like the sound of having the whole thing come from the MPC, because like the groove thing is like so important in the dance music to me. So basically, I'll start in on my MPC, and I'll just send like it's got CV and gate, which is I don't know if that's a new feature for the new MPC, but it's brilliant. So I can send a clock out of this, which is just like a gate signal, which will then send to this little Korg SQ1, which is a sort of remake of the old Korg SQ sequencer, which is like a SQ10, I think it is, and it's like an analog version of this. This is analog, but like the controls they have steps in it now, so if you want to do pitches and stuff, it's easier to set it to a scale. Having said that, this doesn't work on any scale whatsoever, so it's kind of useless for this. So what I do is, once I hit play on this, I've got the signal coming in, and I'll normally put it through some processing. So that'll be the, I'll go into my, from the signal, from the Pearl I'll take that and I'll go into my preamp, which is a Bay preamp, and then after that go into this DBX compressor. So I'll like whack it in there, as in here it's pretty noisy. Give me 1 sec just to get this going. But so basically, this is all coming from here. So anything I want to do, any notes that I'm playing, if I had it on the whole way through, it would just play every note to the 16th, and then it's sort of like, and then change the pitch. So that's playing this one. And then once it's in here, like, I can like, and it's obviously like grooving from the MPC, which also sounds kind of funky. And then also whenever you start it again, it's like comes on a different sort of step of the sequence. It's basically, it just like randomizes stuff that you could do in your computer, I guess, but I like to sort of let the machines sort of like make it up for you, because they can do shit that I wouldn't come up with. So basically that's that, and once that's in there, as I said, like I'll have the raw sort of audio here. Sorry about that, I'll turn this on. Yeah, the raw audio's here, and then what else have I got here? I've got like this sounds like basically, what I would have done is processed it with the H7600 Eventide thing, but you can get like a plugin of that. It's basically just the, the classic micro pitch shifting thing. The processing that I had used on it, to be honest with you, like, yeah. What I normally have to do is really, when it comes in off here, like, so I probably have to like go through and like, I remember on this one that 1 note out of every 4 was like a quarter note out of tune, so I literally have to go through the song sometimes and like tune each note by note, you know. It's a long process, but I just like the sound of the analog stuff, so that's the price you got to pay, I think. This is a consolidated version of what I had, but maybe the raw audio is here. It's like, if you look at this bit of audio, see, like what I've done here, that's the raw one, but maybe like, say, when I was playing it back, I noticed that like 1 note out of every 4 was like quite a lot out of tune, you know? So I had basically had to go in and literally chop every note out of that bar out like this, you know, and then just go into the, I don't like to do it with warp on, actually, unless you absolutely have to. I try to do it like without using warp, because I think it messes up the sound a bit. And then I'll just be like using this micro tuning stuff, which I'll sometimes either use Melodyne to sort of see how far out it is, or just the basic sort of tuner plugin that's in there, that's in Ableton, you know. In fact, there was already one on there, as you can see. So, see, you can see that that's just a little, well, you got to like have an ear for it, and sometimes the computer can help you see what's out of tune. But that's a lot of my time is spent like putting things in tune that were out of tune, because I'll just go with the vibe of it, and like they'll be like, oops, that's wrong, you know. So anyway, that's that one, and then I think like this channel, I have like, as I said, I have some like reverb builds, which which again is like hardware stuff, but you know, you could. I always like to bounce extra audio down on top of the track that I already have, instead of like adding effects to a channel. I prefer to make a new channel of just that effect, you know. And I guess you could do it with sends and stuff like that also, but I like to have everything consolidated at the end, you know, because when I give it to my guy who helps mix and master for me, like you can't just send him like the channel, like the group of every single reverb in one go, you know. So for like mixing and stuff, you have more control if you actually take it as audio, I find, for mixing and stuff. Like for example, I'll have this here, my dry acid sound, and then what I'll do is I'll get it on I've got it on the patch bay. I've got like an external out, always hardwired to 3 and 4, output 3 and 4, and then I'll grab a couple of like jack leads, and then like whack it into the Eventide, which like I'm a big fan of Eventide stuff. I have the plug-in version of the H3000 micro pitch shift, and the plug-in version of it, and I've also got this, which is the newest sort of like for film and TV sort of production, quite a lot of that sort of like sound design stuff, very advanced like version of the harmonizer. And then I've also got the sort of like stomp box one, which is sick as well, and they all sort of have a bit of a different sound, but like harmonizers are like a little secret tool. I think people definitely worth checking out. Like anyway, so yeah, once that's through here, I'll just like send it out, and then I'll like dial up, like I've got a bunch of reverbs that I like and stuff. I bet there's all sorts of crazy shit on here, man. There's like about 10,000 presets. So let's just grab this one. It's like a plate, and then I'll just be like, what I might do is like, it's like building up a little bit, this reverb, towards the sort of little drop. So I might just like automate that on the send, show automation, and then you can just like, pretty simple stuff, but let's make this stereo. So at the moment, like it's nothing going to it. It should work. And then as the track like builds along, should be sending it to here. Or is it? There you go. Coming in quite quiet, but. And then I'll take that reverby thing, and then I'll like track that to another channel, you know, and then I can sort of like blend them at my leisure. So anyway, that's that sound, and that's quite often I'll like, if I have a dry signal of a synth, I'll add some like stereo stuff to it, which will quite often be the micro pitch shifting thing, and then or like a chorus type of thing, and then put some like space on it, maybe like a small reverb or plate or something, depending on what I'm going for. So then we're onto this. Again, like more of this type of stuff. That's just effects of that channel, the big synth part. So here's some, like, obviously, like drums, pretty important to this sort of thing. So this is what I would have done actually is programmed a groove on my MPC, which is like I find a really fast way to do it, and then I have everything in the studio like synced from the MIDI. So I've got my 909 over here and the 808 and the SP12, all like drum machines basically. yeah, they're sort of the best for me. That's the sound I like. I really love Todd Terry's like drums from the 90s and 80s. His sound is basically an SP12 and MPC together, so that's why I use those. But so what I've probably done here is I actually tracked so I probably had a pattern going to the 909 from here, and then I'll track it in through, like, again through my preamps and compressors, and then because I've only got one preamp and one compressor and I want to get the same sort of tone for everything on that drum machine, I'll like take the clap separately, take the hi-hat pattern separately, and then sort of like combine them, you know. So this track's actually got like the open hi-hat here, and then clap, which then I was like adjusting the volume of and getting the compression right, and that's like, so that's the 909, and that's the, don't know what that is, something, another drum machine. Okay, and then actually what I did here was robbed my own track, because I had a really nice hi-hat pattern on the track that me and Kah-Lo put out called Faster. This is like, it's like a bit of percussion, which I'd sequenced again from the MPC, but then what I did was to get like a sound on it, which I do quite a lot, is to get that sort of crunchy sort of 12-bit sound. I like send that out to my SP12, which has only 2.5 seconds of sampling time. So like what you do is you just put it in a little bit too fast. So I like put the track, say like five semitones up, right, and record a loop like that into the SP12, and then once you like come back from this, you pitch it down in here, and it like gives it this like really nice sort of like crunchy sound. So I do that a lot, and then when it's coming back in again, maybe put it back through the preamp and back through the compressor again. It's really like, you can't drive things too much, really. I mean, just go for it. Like, it's kind of, sometimes you can go through things like 2 or 3 times and it will still sound good, and sort of like just got to trust your ears on that. The only thing I'll do, like in terms of software processing on the drum sounds, is like some like just general EQ work, and which would normally be like scooping out the bottom end, you know, to leave some space for the bass and stuff. But drums, like definitely what I'll do on my kicks though. Okay. Again, the SP12, like I did this drum beat. Again, it's like a kick and snare. It's probably, from the sound of things, I think I probably sampled it from like a disco record or a house record, and then I would have got in and like gated the sound and trimmed it down, and then put it into the SP12. But what I use a lot is the transient designers. So like this, the Native Instrument one's really good. Also have I've got 2 ones that I go for. Always find I'm using this transient master all the time. It's super good. You can really like. I always use MPC swing, like pretty much, even if it's like, what I'll do is quite often I have to line everything up by eye and ear in the computer, even if you take it all from the computer. Like, unless you take it all in one session from the MPC, like you find that when you start adding another layer on top, it'll just be slightly out and stuff. So a lot of the time I'll just drag the groove in, like whatever groove I was using on the MPC, I'll like find that groove within the presets of Ableton, and I'll drag that in. And a lot of the time it's just laborious, like grunt work where you're just like looking at the audio and then just dragging it to line up. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything's like, I can see that the clap I put like a little bit late, but most things are like dead on this like grid, you know. I like if I do some warping, the best style for me is obviously I always go in this go on transient mode, yeah, and make sure that it's sort of good, the start point, and then always put it onto not re-loop back on itself, so it's like just plays it once through rather than this mode, which I think is the standard mode that it comes as, has a back and then it sort of fakes a reverse, so it's you never really have a gap in the audio. But I like to just like do it like that, and then you can like actually snap it and use it as a gate almost, you know. It's really good for like getting the sound like you can shorten the sound there. It's sick. So you actually do a lot of control with this warping stuff. However, said that, once it's done, I like to just like consolidate everything. I just like to see what's actually happening, you know. I don't like to trust the computers, like what I can't see I don't trust, you know what I mean? And I find it important to like believe that they're in time. So swing on MPC is like about as easy as you can get. Like you just, when I'm making a channel, in fact, once you just start your pattern off, you know, set the BPM, then you just open the TC time code 56, 50, like I'd say like want to like use between 54 and 58 is pretty nice for house music. You can get really swingy sort of garagey sounds if you go higher than that, but it's not. I find for my stuff like around like 56 is perfect, and then have it on 16ths normally. I don't really go in for all of these like trappy like fills and stuff like that. I like to just keep it solid and disco house, you know. So that's pretty simple. And then once it's in here, like that's just set up, and everything you start doing, unless you tell it otherwise, just automatically snaps to that grid. So if you like do whatever, like record it, then it's just like locks it straight to that grid, as you can see. Really good. What I do generally is, because I find that vocals are like almost a complete whole song in themselves, you know, because I do a lot of layering and extra and processing and sends and returns and stuff like that. So I find like I like to get my a cappella like nice and organized in a separate page, and then import that sort of stereo file or rendered audio frozen tracks, you know, into my other Ableton session, because that's the good thing about Ableton, isn't it? You can like drag tracks in from other sessions and stuff. So that's what I do, is just because otherwise I find that I'm going to have like 100 tracks of audio in one page, and that becomes annoying. Rather than if I was to like bounce this out, I'd probably have like 10, you know. This is like me and Kah-Lo wrote this song back in New York in about a year and a half ago, and we're just putting the album together, as I was saying, and we just finished that. And then I was never really happy with the beat for that, so I tried a few different variations of it, and totally scrapped off the original one. It had nothing to do with the end result, really. So I just knew that the vocal was good, but sometimes it'll take me 3 or 4 attempts to like be happy with the beat for it. Because, yeah, either that or I was just right the first time and I waste a bunch of time like trying other versions. It's either one of those two eventualities. It's either like basically like I got it right first time, I'm wasting my time, or just got to keep going until something's excellent that you love, you know. So once I've tracked the vocals, which I do with them at the moment, actually I did this through this Thermonic Culture Early Bird 2 preamp, which is a nice like valve preamp, quite clean, and then I had a nice valve mic as well, which I used, which is currently broken, but like it was quite like a nice sort of sweet sound on Kah-Lo's vocals. There's another thing I do with Kah-Lo, which she raps so that when she's rapping on the tracks, I like her voice to sound a little bit more bright and fun and bouncy. So quite often I'll take the audio of the beat and I'll just like put it into warp mode. So basically what I'll have is I have the whole stereo track as a rough instrumental bounced, yeah? And then what I'll do is I'll warp that, but put it on a repitch. And then say I'll take the track down like 4 BPM or something. And then I'll get her to rap to that. And then I'll pitch everything up, warp her vocal, pitch, and sort of then bring everything back up to 122 BPM, say if I recorded it at 118. And that gives her a little bit more like of a chipmunk sound to it. It's like a sort of format type of deal. Just sort of like gives it a slightly different tone.
369 girls wanna drink wine.
She's got quite a low voice sometimes, and like this just like brings it like up in register a little bit. So basically on that track I've got a bit of de-esser, which sounds
369 girls wanna drink wine.
Sounds like it could do with a little bit more, in fact. But like the de-esser here is just like Waves one.
369 girls wanna,
which I just like basically try a few presets and see which one works, which one captures the sound, gets rid of the S's and spitty sounds, you know.
369 girls wanna drink wine. Tell the man not to waste your time. If the
So I'll just be trying the different ones and see which one sort of gets rid of what I don't like, because I'm not a genius on frequencies and stuff. And then I brighten it up a little bit with this SSL EQ channel strip. We just boost the. I mean, again, I'm kind of like presets sometimes. I'm like just fly through them and see what's quite nice. Like, especially for like something like an SSL thing, you just kind of want it to add some brightness, and so it's just I just probably went for a vocal thing and just went, oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, and it's just, what's nice about the SSL thing is the top end. I think I always try and get the vocals as bright and as I can without it sort of distorting in any way. And then I love this this vocal thing, which I use a lot. It's kind of probably like a little cheaty thing, you know. It's just as soon as you put it through, it just adds like a lot of brightness to it, and you can dial in a bit of like aggression and stuff. So this is the raw one.
369 girls wanna drink wine. I mean, tell the man not to waste your time. If the man
this is without,
the man
you know
hear a joke, so you gotta get loose with the Henny and the Coke. 3, 2, 1
Sounds
girls
nice,
wanna have fun.
warm.
If the man don't dance, he's done.
And by the time you've done this, it's quite pumped. So this is great. It's got compression, de-essing even in. That's why probably I took the de-esser off there. So it's got de-esser built in, compression, highs. It's just good. Like it's like a instant gratification sort of vocal plugin. Works really well. I always have a mastering guy who can come in and like fine tune the frequencies that maybe I've pushed too much or like haven't pushed enough. So I like to just get the vibe of it right, and then I don't worry too much about getting into the absolute mix down. I mean, I'd say I get it 90% there, but then leave it to the mastering guys, man. That's their job. So what else we got here? So this is a little delay. Again, this is audio now, and I've put it through that JJP vocal processing again, which is a Waves thing, just because it brightens it up. But this is yeah, this is sounds like. And imagine that I used a bit of flanging from this probably MXR, and then a bit of analog delay on that one from a Moog pedal, and then this channel is more stereo. That sounds like again another like pitch, micro pitch shifting thing which I've recorded in. Sorry, I can't remember which one I used originally. And then here's an octave, which I blend in like an octave of the vocal like down, which you could I think I did this with a harmonizer, but again, I find that the just in Ableton, just dropping it an octave down works pretty good too. So there's like four elements to that vocal part, which is that's the sort of lead line, and this is only one layer of lead. There's no like, it's not a song with like tons of layers of, apart from like fake layers which I've used as processing things, you know. And then what's this section? This is a bit more, yeah. Okay, so this is a bit of like a cut up of the vocal. Again, this is I remember doing this part. It's kind of nasty. It's part of Kah-Lo's vocal going, gotta get loose, and I've like, I think I did all the processing on that. Actually, I was just messing around with the virus, the Access virus thing, and that you can feed audio into it, and I think I was just like messing around and seeing what sort of stuff I can get out of that, and that this is sort of like flangery type nasty sound. And then we've got, what else we got here?
Chica fake ID.
This pretty dry version of the something cut up from the verse, you know. So it's just one line of that, and it's definitely got like that JJP processing on it.
Chica fake ID.
And I also probably, I think on this sound I would have put it through the Culture Vulture as well, which is like, just adds a bit of just clipping, you know. What else we got here? This is like harmonizing of that line too. And that's like octave down. Sounds like a fifth down or something. So basically that would be all of this stuff. Yeah, more effects on this one section here is, you can definitely hear. This is the DP4, which is like, sort of does like a, again it's another thing that does some of my favourite processing, which is harmonizer. So this one's got like sort of like, it's a sort of combination of flanger and pitch shifting, which I used as a little delay on the vocal. You can hear it here, left and right. It's like a stereo one, which sounds sick. It's sort of like got like a sort of sample and hold on the pitch shifting. So in combination, it sort of sounds like this.
Chica fake ID. Chica fake ID.
It's just a little like weird echo basically. And then there's one more channel on this processing. Pitch shifting. Another octave up this time. So it's all just like layers, but like sneaking them in without it like messing up the dry signal, you know, is what I try and do. Just get it as thick as possible without detracting from the sort of punchiness of it, you know. That's what I try and get. Something a little interesting sounding, but with still nice and solid, you know. Then we've got like one other vocal section, which is like the bridge.
Gotta get that bar. Gotta work real hard.
So I've got de-esser, a little bit of EQ to brighten it up here. Glue compressor.
Gotta get that bar.
Doing quite a lot. Then it looks like I might, yeah, what I've basically done there is sort of what the JJP vocal would do to it anyway, you know. It's a big EQ push on the top end, de-esser to take off the nasty stuff, and then a hard compression. Then to like, as layers of that, I think it's quite, I went for a bit more of a spacey sound for this part. So what's this one?
Gotta get that bar.
Okay, that's like super high pass, like with that JJP. So it's actually just the top end of that vocal, which I would layer to the bridge, dry one. So
gotta get that bar.
Just adding like some sparkly stuff on the top, you know. And again, like get it really bright, but then put like a de-esser on it to sort of like control the nastiness. It seems to work good. And this is a bit of like this definitely would have been The H7600, the Eventide again. Like I use this so much. This is like a sort of like a distortion and spacey sort of sound thing that I would have dialed up on here. So that's one track of doubles. Then I've got this one. Which I think what I did then was process the distortion one with a sort of delay thing, so it adds a bit of stereo. I've got one more track here, which is...
Gotta get that bar.
That's definitely the H7600 micro pitch shifting, just to add some stereo. So there's that one, and then yeah, basically those three combined sound like this.
Gotta get that bar. Gotta work real hard. Streets to your catwalk. Make your body talk that talk. Not to waste my time. If you see a broke man sign, if the man can't whine, you gotta get next in line.
So yeah, there's that. That's most of the vocal processing, apart from this little like yep thing, which Kah-Lo does this thing which they do which is from Nigeria, and you make this noise if you see a woman walking down the street you don't like and you think she's a whore. Apparently, sort of like a Native American whoop sort of sound. And that's her like giggling at the end because she thought it was so funny when she did it. You can sort of hear it. So that's a delay with some pitching. I can't remember how I did that one. I think that might have been the analog delay. I have all of these Mooga Fuga pedals, and there's a Moog delay. So I would have like caught it at the end and then like changed the pitch of that to sort of make it bend in a weird way. It's really distorted and horrible, that sound, but in the track it sounds quite good. Yeah, so that's just delays on that one, bit of reverb delay sort of thing. And that's it really for the vocals. What's this? Oh, okay, yeah, back to that sort of, that sound that I was doing on the Gotta Get Loose, I think. This sound. This again is more of that virus stuff, and I just used it on the last sort of pass of the song just to add a bit of like something that hasn't happened before and a bit of craziness. So so that's a bit of like stuff. So what that is quite cool. Like I think what I did was like record it, and like what I'll do is I'll get a bit of vocal, like that bit she's going, gotta drink wine, and I'm like putting it through the effects, but all the time I'm just tracking into the computer what I'm doing. So I'll drag it all out. Like this is. And each one of those is like different. So after I got that, I have like different tones, you see. And I basically just ended up like chopping each one, so it like sort of goes from one to another. I think I used like 4 and then sort of draw in the speed that they're sort of repeating. So that's sort of like a combination of using Ableton's like chopping stuff with some like sort of analog processing, you know, or not analog, but the virus processing anyway. So yeah, that's what I find computers are really good for editing, but to get the sounds that I like to edit, I tend to use outboard gear to get that. But then like, you know, you couldn't do that with a MPC really very easily. That would take too long. So that's the sort of vocal covered basically. Okay, so arrangement, I was just wanted to have something nice and instant and let the vocal do the hard work really. I mean, with Kah-Lo stuff, it's really fun, and I also like to have it. It's a dance track, so I don't mind that we repeat things. I think in fact that's a good thing, rather than it being like for the club, you don't want to have like too many vocals, you know, just enough to keep the interest. And this is just more Kah-Lo vocals about going out, getting drunk and lit, as she might say. So basically, yeah, come in with the verse and a little bit of the acid low, which is going to be the main sort of bass line. If the man don't dance, he's done. Tell him move on. And a little kick, but filtered. Now can I get a coke with my rum? And then I have effects of that sound, the main one of that. But then also I've grouped together all my effects, type of building sounds and what have you. So I've got a little like white noisy type of thing here, I guess. It's a reverb delay. This is like a little sample actually of something. Who knows what? I might have made that, actually I think I might have made that on the Virus. It's like got really nice bell sounds, the Virus. And then what else we got here? Just some classic riser stuff. Don't know where that's from. Obviously it sounds like I've time stretched it and done weird stuff to it as well. So that probably would have been an audio thing that I've just like processed with like time stretching and pitch shifting and stuff like that. Yeah, so I have a little group of effects which play. Back to the verse, but with all of the music in. Build the drums up a little bit, a bit extra 16th sort of percussion and stuff. And that's sort of like the chorus, I guess. And then a little break. Verse 2, which only actually happens once in the song. The best in town, so you gotta get lit to the champion sound. 1, 2, 3, check a fake ID. Shit, you can't even drink with me. You can't hang, you got no plan, so you gotta make room now for the next man. 3, 6, 9 girls. And then back to verse 1 again. So I just like adds a little variation in the middle. And then back to the sort of chorus with all the extra drums in. And the acid lines being a bit more complicated. Which is all going off. Gotta get that and then bridge. Streets of your catwalk, make your body talk that talk. Not to waste my time. If you see a broke man sign, and this bit's quite fun. If the man can't whine, you gotta get next in line. And then this is like the sort of druggy bit, and this is all the as I was saying before, this thing has a sort of I have the synth line played from this, you know, and it's like playing the pattern on here, but it's got a sample and hold, which is sort of like a randomizing type of thing. So that just makes the pitch go all weird and like unpredictable. So I've sort of used that and then added lots of reverbs and stuff to that sound to make it a bit more like spacey. Kind of cool. What's that? So that's got like reverb and delay on the dry sort of, which is great, I love it. And then bring the synth back in and build it back up. More or less the same as the first part, but with that extra sound. And there it goes. And then it's just more like, kind of like an instrumental outro, you know, it's all like, just let the synths roll. It's for the club, this one, so You don't want too much going on right at the end if people are going to start mixing out around here. I mean, I would be. I always make things that I like want to, you know, make it work for me to DJ. And break it down a little bit. But this is kind of cool, the outro. It's all the, again, it's the syncussion just getting all random. Sounds great. And some like nice analog delays, sort of like drug it out at the end, basically. Well, thanks everyone. Riton saying good day, good afternoon, good night to you all. Thanks for spending some time in the studio with me, and go on Spotify and stream some of my music.